everyone, it's Tiana. Today I'm going to do a tutorial look using some pigments that I have. I'm going to be using MICA Bronze and the Ulta YOLO. Those are the two pigments that I'm going to be using. I don't have any matte pigments personally, so I'm going to be using Sadle by MAC as my crease color. I'm going to go ahead and get started and swatch the bronze for you guys using the wet and dry, because you can use pigments either wet or dry. So that's it, dry. It's very, very light. You can definitely build it up, but there's not a ton of color to it when you do it that way. Now I'm going to go in with it wet. And there's it wet. So using pigments wet, it just increases the color. It makes them more like a pressed, actually it makes them more intense than a pressed shadow. So I'm going to use the bronze and I'm going to use my brush wet so that I get a more intense color. I've already put on my primer. For today I used the Too Faced Shadow Insurance primer. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with the color. MICA brand, how you get the pigment is through these little holes. There's nothing stopping it, so if you're going to be traveling, I wouldn't suggest traveling with this because there is no blocker on it. So when you open the container, you will get a lot of fallout. But it's kind of nice having just the holes, because then you can kind of just tap it against your hand like this and some of the pigment comes out. I don't know if you guys can see in the bottom right there. So it makes it easy that way. There's some other brands that do their dispense differently, and it's not as easy to get the shadow out. So I'm just going to go, and I'm going to go all over my eyelid with this color. So it's a pretty intense copper, well, bronze color. So when you're going in between applications, make sure that your brush is still wet, or else you'll have two different tones and you'll have to build up one a lot more than the other. So just keep that in mind when you're working with pigments, that if you are using it wet, you need to make sure that your brush is, well, you don't want your brush soaking wet, but you do want it damp so that the color sticks to it really well and so you can get an even color on both sides. So there's the color that I'm going to use for that, and then I'm going to go into Sadle by MAC with my E38, and the brush that I used for the pigment was my firm shader E57. I just feel like that's a dense, short brush that gives me a lot of control, so I really like using that one for my pigments. But I'm going to go in with Sadle. Sadle is a matte brown. I do have some shimmer on mine right now. I don't know if you can tell. I was working and cleaning the pigments and they kind of exploded all over the place because I had traveled with them, and so there had been some that I hadn't opened since I got here to see how bad the damage was, so I had to hurry and clean those up so I didn't have an explosion every time I opened the lid. That is something you do have to worry about with pigments, is that they will explode all over you if you have traveled with them, and if the pigment has shifted so that it's on the top of the barrier, then you can have a huge mess on your hands when you open it. So there's that. Now that I've put that on, I'm gonna re-wet my firm shader brush and go in a little bit more with it, just so I have a really intense color all the way on the whole eyelid. So this brand, the MICA brand, is actually the first brand of pigments that I've tried, or that I had tried. I've tried quite a few since then, but this one is a really good brand. It's easier than a lot of the other pigments that I've used just because of the dispensing method, and to pick up you can actually pick up the top. There's a little ridge right here that you can just put your finger under, and it takes a little bit of prying, but it's not too bad. So this comes off so that you can easily pour it back in if you do get too much on the top, which is nice. So if you're starting out with pigments, I would suggest getting the MICA brand. They are more expensive, but if you're wanting an easy time, then that would be the one that I'd go with. Now I'm going to go in with YOLO from Ulta, and I'm going to use that wet as well, and I'm going to use that as my highlight color. So especially if you're using it as your highlight color, definitely be careful, because using it you do get a lot of color, and so you don't want to be heavy-handed with it at all. And I always go in and I smudge it out a little bit more, just so there's not that super harsh defined line, especially when I'm using pigments. And then I'm also going to use that in the inner corner just to brighten it up, because I have droopy looking eyes, and so using this in the inner corner brings focus to here and makes my eyes look wider, which is definitely beneficial. When I am using pigments, I do not have to use a cream shadow or a paint pot like I usually do. I can get away with just using it wet and it will stay the same way. So that is my eyeshadow for right now. I'm going to go in with the Ulta Chocolate Automatic Eyeliner. These eyeliners are very, very hard, so if you're wanting a soft one that goes on easy, I would not suggest these, but it has the color that I want for putting shadow over underneath my eyes. So I am going to use this one, but you do have to push pretty hard to get color to come off. So I'm going to go back in with the bronze color, and I'm going to use my small angle E50 or E65 to do that. And I am going to go in with it dry because I put a cream down first, and so I don't necessarily need to go in with it wet over a cream. So I have to get some more pigment out, sorry. If you do have, so when you're tapping it, you sometimes get fallout on your hand, like I just did right there. You can try to use as much of that as possible, but if you get a washcloth, it'll come off pretty easily. So go in like that, and then I'm just gonna put on some mascara and call it good. Actually, I have to do my eyebrows, sorry, totally spaced that. So I'll hurry and put on my mascara here. Today I'm using the Voluminous Carbon Black by Loreal. And I just made an order to Sephora. It should be getting here next Sunday, I believe. Or this Sunday actually. So next week I'll do a video of the things that I got and do some reviews of new products that I'm gonna try. I also got eyebrow stuff, so I'll actually have an accurate color instead of using the one that I have been using, which works, but it's just not super accurate, and I feel like it makes my eyes look, or my eyebrows look weird. So I'm just gonna hurry and grab that. Sorry, had to go out of frame for just a second. While I'm letting my eyelashes dry for just a second before I put on the second coat. And I have pretty good eyebrows, so I just use it to fill them in. I don't really use it for, I do use it for color and just to make them look more full and not so sparse, because I do have very blonde eyebrows and I have blonde eyelashes, even though my hair is a little darker than that. So that, and then I'm gonna go in one more time with my with my mascara, just to put a second layer, make it a little darker, make them a little more voluminous. Sorry, my hair went into my eye, which is not a comfortable sensation. And so with this look, I would go in with either a bright color, because my eyes are so natural, or my eyes, yeah, are natural. They're not a bright color at all. So I'm actually gonna go in with the Bite Rhubarb. And I'm just gonna fill my lips in. Sorry, I'm not used to this whole using the camera as my mirror. So there is my look for today. I'd probably put a gloss over the rhubarb just so that it stays longer, but here you go. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day. Bye.